Chapter 2.3 Multiplication and Division of Integers. Okay, let's multiply two integers. Okay, integers are positive numbers and negative numbers. And also there is a zero. Okay, so actually the positive integer means it's not a decimal numbers, just 1 to 3 natural numbers and negative natural numbers and zeros. Okay, let's multiply two numbers. For example, 5 times 3. 5 times 3. Then this is 15. So in this case, we used this symbol x, the multiplication symbol x. So x represents multiply two numbers. So this is a product of two positive numbers. Now, how about this? Can we use, instead of using the multiplication symbol x, can we use a dot between 3? Yes, so this one is also 15. Okay, dot represent a product, multiplication. How about this? Can we write just the parentheses like this? Yes, it is fine. This means you are multiplying two numbers, 5 and 3. You may put a dot between these two numbers, or you can just leave the dots, or remove the dots. So this means it's a product. Okay, how about in the previous chapters we learned this one? How about 5x? This is also, let's use a different letter instead of x. Let's use a. 5a. What do you mean by this 5a? 5a means the number 5 and number a are, the variable a are multiplied together. So this means it's a product of 5 and a. Or you can use 5 times a, or you can use 5 times a, or you can put, parentheses, doesn't matter. So this represents all product. Okay, product means multiply. Alright, so this example, 5 times 3 is 5 and 3 are positive numbers. So when you multiply, two positive numbers, the result is positive. How about this? 5 times, how about 5 times negative 3? Okay, 5 times negative 3 means, okay, this is a product. You are multiplying two numbers, but this time these numbers have different signs. One is positive, one is negative. Then the result is negative. Okay, 3 times 5 is 15. We already know 5 times 3. But the sign is negative. This is really important. So when you multiply two numbers, one is positive, one is negative, different signs, then the result is negative. Okay, how about this? So for example, let's try another example. How about negative 2 times 5? Okay, negative 2 is a negative number, 5 is a positive number, so the result is negative 10. How about this? 6 times negative 4. Okay, still same. 1 is 6 positive, negative 4 is negative. You are multiplying two numbers. So the result is negative. 4 times 6 is 24. Okay, so we can conclude that the product of a positive number and a negative number is negative. Okay, then let's try this one. Let's multiply this time two negative numbers. Okay, negative 5 times negative 3. So you are multiplying two negative numbers. One is negative 5, the other one is negative 3. Then we know that the product of 5 and 3 is 15, right? How about the sign? Okay, negative times negative is positive. Okay, just like, positive times positive is positive, right? So multiplying two negative numbers is also positive. Simple. So multiplying two negative numbers is what? Positive. Alright, so how about this? Negative 2 times negative 5. Then two numbers are negatives. These two numbers are negative. You are multiplying these two numbers, so the result is positive. Positive 10. Let's try another one. Negative 6 times negative 4. Then this is equal to negative. It's a negative, positive. Positive, isn't it? Positive 24. Alright, So when you multiply two numbers, so let's say the second number is negative. Okay, can we write something like this? Negative 3 times negative 5. Can we write it like this? Well, you may write it like this because there is a dot that represents, you're multiplying two numbers. But if the second number is a negative, then it is better to put parentheses. Because if you don't put parentheses, this one looks like a minus sign. It looks like negative 3 minus 5. Then this is not a product. So it is better to protect the negative number with parentheses. So within the parentheses, you put the negative number. So that is more safe. Alright, so negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. Alright, so when you multiply two numbers, we call these numbers are factors. So each number, so this A, 5A, these are all called factors. So the numbers or variables in a product is called what? Factors. Factor. So when you multiply two numbers with different signs like this, then the result of this product is negative. One is positive, one is negative, then the result is negative. Alright, so if the second number means it's a factor, second factor, right? So the first factor is 5, the second factor is negative 3. So if the second factor is negative number, then what do? We put it in a parenthesis. Okay, the product of two negative numbers. So two factors are negative, then the result is, the product is positive. And of course, the product of two positive numbers is also positive. So here is the rule. The rules for multiplying two integers. So to multiply two integers with the same sign, then the result is what? Multiply the absolute value with factors. Multiply the values of the factors. That means, there are two numbers, negative 4 and 12. Multiply these two, make it positive and multiply. So negative 4 times 12, these two numbers are different. These two numbers have different signs. So the product is what? Negative, right? Negative. The product is negative. Because two numbers have different signs. And then 4 times 12 is 48. How about next example? The next example is this. To multiply two integers with different signs. So two factors are different, have different signs. Then the product is negative, right? Negative. Okay. Two numbers, now for this example, two numbers have the same sign. Then the result is what? Positive. So 6 times 15 is 90, isn't it? So positive 90. So the signs are the same, then the product is positive. Really important. This is really, really important concept. So when you multiply numbers, two numbers, then if those two numbers have the same sign, then the product is positive. Or if two numbers have different signs, so one is positive, one is negative, or negative and positive, then the product is negative. Really, really important. Okay, there are very important properties. Okay, the first one is multiplication property of 0. Okay, this means multiplication property. So you're gonna do a multiplication using 0. So for example, here is a variable A. A represent any number. So A times 0. So this means this is the multiplication property of 0. So this is a product, and one of the number is 0. Then the result is always 0. That is correct, 0. How about 0 times A? Still same, isn't it? Still same. This is equal to 0. So multiplication property of 0 means when you multiply a number by 0, then the result is 0. The second property is the multiplication property of 1. Same thing. You are multiplying numbers by 1. So here is number A, and I'm going to multiply this number by 1. Then the result is the result is A, right? A. The number itself. So 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 1 is 4. Or you can interchange these two factors. So 1 times A. Still, the result is the number A itself. So there are names. So we already know A times 0 is 0. Or A times 1 is A. But the property of this situation is multiplication property of 0, multiplication property of 1. Okay, the third property is the commutative property of multiplication. Similarly to, do you remember the addition, the commutative property of addition? Same thing. Commutative property means interchange the two numbers. So here is A times B, A times B. Then this A times B, you can multiply A times B, but you can switch these two. That should be equal to B times A. Switch these two. So that's commutative property. Really simple, isn't it? So what if we have, the expression star and the expression moon? The star may be another expression, and the moon may have, different expression. So instead of using 1 and 2, just single number, star and moon contains a lot of complicated expression. Then you can just switch these two. Complete this star first, and then multiply by the moon, right? Moon first, and then multiply by the star. It's the same thing. So when you exchange two parts, then we call it commutative property. And this is a product multiplication. So the name for this is commutative property of multiplication. How about the associated property of multiplication? Okay, as I mentioned earlier in addition, the order of 3 parts are the same. A times B times C. The order is the same. Then even this one, A times B times C. The order is same. And then what you can do is you can group the first two. Okay, you can multiply the first two numbers and then multiply by C. Okay, then this is our product, so you can do the last two first, BC. So A is multiplied by the result of BC should be equal to the result of the first two product, the product of first two numbers, and then multiply by C. Still same. So associated property is what? Just regrouping the first two and the last two, middle two, it doesn't matter. So regrouping, you don't change the order of the factors, but you change the grouping, right? Grouping. All right, let's try this example. Negative 8 times 0. You are multiplying two numbers, but one of them is 0, then the result is always 0. What's the property name? The multiplication property of 0, right? Okay, how about the next one? Negative 4 times 1. 1 is just 1, right? 1. So by the multiplication property of 1, the result is negative 4, the number itself. How about negative 5 times 3? Okay, negative 5 times 3. All right. This is an example of properties. So you can multiply these two, but you can switch these two numbers. So 3 times negative 5. Switch these two. So there is a commutative property of multiplication. How about this one? Okay, let's apply in this example. Let's apply the associated property of multiplication. So why don't we write the numbers as it is? Don't change the order of these factors. And what we're gonna do is just change the order regrouping, right? Regrouping. So the left side of the equation is multiplying the first two numbers, but this time let's multiply the last two numbers. So that is the associative property of multiplication. So instead of using, I already used the parentheses for -1, so why don't we use a bracket around here? So this makes more sense, right? Okay, let's try next one. Okay, let's try more example. Okay, 1 times a. Okay, well, so x. Okay, x is a variable. So this variable represents a number. So 1 times x means you are multiplying two numbers and one of them is 1, right? 1. Then the result is the number itself, x, by the multiplication property of 1, right? How about -1 times x? Still same thing. 1 is positive number. One is x is, we don't know what x value is, but as you see this one, you can do 1 times x, which is x, but you can put negative because there's one negative number. Okay, so -1 times x is negative x. Okay, let's try this example. Okay, now evaluate. Okay, evaluate this expression for a equals -2 and b is -9. Okay, this means when you evaluate an expression, always replace variables with their values. Always. So negative AB, right? Negative AB. So the first step is replace the variable a with the given number -2. So negative stays here. So why don't we put parentheses around -2 to replace variable a, and then replace variable b with -9. So put parentheses -9. Okay, so we just replace the variables with the names, with the numbers. And then since this is a product, okay, AB means A times B. This is a product. Okay, AB means what? It's a product. Product. So negative product, right? Negative sign and then product. And then simplify. Simplify. All right, so look at this. Do you remember opposite of a number? Opposite of -2 is what? Opposite of negative number is positive, right? Positive. Or do you remember in this section? Negative, this is a product. Negative, this is a product. So negative times negative is positive, right? So even negative is not a number, but this is a sign. So negative times negative is positive. Or you may think of this opposite of -2. So these two expressions will be +2. So if it's a +2, then you don't have to put positive sign. So this will be +2 times -9. Then the result is multiplying these two is what? One is positive, one is negative. This is a product of different signs. So the result is negative. 2 times 9 is 18. Make sense? So look at this. Negative sign and -2. This means opposite of -2. So that becomes +2. Alright, you can do it this way. Look at this. This is a product, right? Product. The first one is negative sign. The second number is negative number. And this part is -9 is negative number. So how many negative numbers are there? 1 to 3, right? 1 to 3. So among these three negative numbers, negative signs, 2 became positive. So left over is 1. Right? So if there are odd number of negatives, so if an expression is a product and there are odd number of negatives, then the result is negative. If this is product. Okay, let's try more examples. Okay, is -4 a solution of the expression? This is the expression 5x minus 20. So let's check whether 5x is really equal to -20 if x equals 4. So -4 a solution means the value of x is -4. So if the value of x is -4, then the solution has to be true if -4 is the solution. So in this case, the first step is replace the variable x with negative 4. And then let's check whether this is true. So 5 times 5x means 5 times x. This is a product. Okay, this means product. Remember, product. Product means multiplication. All right, so so 5 times negative 4. So replace x with negative 4. Then the result is, this is the product of two different signs, right? Different signs. So the result is negative 20. Then this should be equal to negative 20, right? So yes, negative 4 satisfies the equation. So the answer is yes. Negative 4 is a solution. All right, then let's try next example. Okay, next one is a product of numbers, multiple numbers. So let's multiply negative 5, negative 4, 6, and negative 3. So let's multiply these four numbers. Do you remember in earlier example? Okay, this is a product, all product, and the number of negatives are, so the number of negatives is what? 3. Negative 5, negative 4, and negative 3. So there are 3 negative numbers, then the result is negative. Why? Because negative, 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 2 negative makes positive, so leftover is negative. So there are odd number of negatives, then the result is negative. But anyway, let's follow the step. Okay, these two numbers, product of these two numbers is what? Two same sign, right? They have the same sign. The result is positive. So it will be 20, right? And then 6 times negative 3. So let's do it step by step from left to right. Then this 2 is what? 120, positive number. And then from this one, different signs. The result is negative. 120 times 3 is 360. So the answer is negative 360. Okay, so you can multiply two numbers step by step from left to right, and you are multiplying the same sign, then the result is positive. Multiplying different signs, then the result is negative. Shortcut, what's the shortcut? Count the number of negatives. If there are odd number of negatives, then the result is negative. Okay, let's try dividing two integers. Okay, dividing two integers is we call it quotient. Okay, for every division problem, there is a related multiplication problem. So division can be written as a product. So for example, here is a division case, 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 is, 8 divided by 2. What is 8 divided by 2? 8 over 2? That is 4, isn't it? 4. So for this division, you can rewrite it as a multiplication, 4. The result is 4, right? 4. 4 times the divisor, 4, 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. So you can write this division equation into a product equation. Can you see it? So the result of this quotient is 4. So 4 times 2 is 8. So let's try some examples here. So 12 divided by 3 is, isn't it 4, right? 4. So what should be this one? In order to make 12, you must have 4, right? 4. So 4 times 3 is 12. So 4 times 3 is equal to 12. Can you see it? This one, so product of these two should be 12. Okay, now negative 3. So negative 3 times what should be negative 12 now. So negative 12 divided by 3 is, the result is 4 actually, because 4 times negative 3. So 4 times negative 3 is what? So 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Okay, how about, let's try more. Okay, now 12 divided by negative 3. That means negative 3 times what should be 12? So 3 times 4 is negative 12, right? So it's got to be negative 4. So we know how to divide actually. 12 divided by 3 is 4. but in this case, the negative sign is really important. So negative 4 times, negative 3 is positive 12. The quotient is 12, right? 12. Let's try the next one. Negative 12 divided by 3. So 3 times what becomes negative 12? It's got to be negative 4, right? So negative 12 divided by 3 is, the result is negative, and then the number is 4, because 3 times 4 is 12. So negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Okay, here is a very important concept. We are dividing, okay, this quotient has, this is the quotient of two numbers, two positive numbers. Actually, same numbers, isn't it? So quotient of two numbers with the same sign, then the result is positive, just like a product. A product of two same signs, then the result is positive, right? Same thing. So negative 12 divided by negative 3. These two numbers are the same, so the result is positive. Okay, how about one of them is negative? Okay, the quotient of two numbers with different signs. One is positive, one is negative, then the result is negative. Okay, so when you divide numbers, make sure the signs are the same or different. If they have the same signs, then the result of the quotient is positive. If the numbers are different signs, have different signs, then the result of the quotient is negative. All right, then let me write the property again. So this here is the rule for dividing two integers. Okay, because there are two types of dividing two integers. Okay, to divide two integers with the same sign. So the numerator and the denominator, or the divisor and dividends are the same signs, then multiply the absolute values of these two numbers. Absolute values means make it positive and multiply. But this is divide. So divide the numbers, and the result of this quotient is positive. So same signs, then the result is positive. Same as multiplication. And if you are dividing two integers with the different signs, then divide the numbers, make it positive numbers, and then divide it. Then the quotient is, the result of this quotient is negative, just like multiplication. So, okay, 36 divided by 4. Okay, negative 36 is negative number, 4 is positive number. So these two numbers are different. So the quotient is negative, right? So the result is negative. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. So negative 9. Okay, the next example, negative 10 divided by negative 5. Two numbers have the same signs. They are the same signs, so the result is positive. So the product is, the division is 10 divided by 5 is 2, and the result is positive. So you don't have to put positive. So the signs are, when you divide a number by with the same signs, then the quotient is positive. So when you divide, if the quotient has different signs, then the quotient is negative. All right, so there's no problem with dividing, right? The signs is really very important, sign. So if, let's say, the variables a and b are the integers, and we will use b as a denominator, divisor. So divisor cannot be equal to 0. Always the divisor cannot be equal to 0. So if b is not equal to 0, and it can be any number except 0, then we can write it like this. If the denominator is negative b, then you can move this negative sign to the numerator. So this is same as negative a divided by b. Or you can move the negative sign outside, in front of the fraction. So you can make it A over B. So these three expressions are all equivalent, same. So make sure negative times negative, one is on the denominator, then move this negative to the numerator. Negative B is the divisor, right? So A divided by negative B. So one of them is negative, then we move it to the numerator, or you can move it to the in front of it. But we usually write negative in front of the expression. So we don't recommend the first expression, we don't recommend the second expression, but we recommend the third expression. Okay, in this case, make sure the denominator b is not equal to 0. B is not equal to 0. Okay, so here is a very important concept, properties. So the division property of 0 and 1. So the division, the expression has either 0 and 1. So depending on 0 and 1, the result is totally different. So look at this, 0 over a. Because 0 over a is, the result is 0. Because 0 over a, let's divide 0 over a. So 0 over a means 0 divided by it. So this means 0 divided by a, right? 0 divided by a. So let's divide 0 by a. Do you remember the division symbol? So 0 divided by a is, a times what is 0? It's 0, isn't it? 0 times a is 0. So the result is 0. So whenever the numerator is 0, so 0 over a something, so 0 is in the top, then the result is 0. How about this? A divided by a. So this means a divided by a, right? So let's divide it by a. So a divided by a, then a times 1 is a, and then subtract, then this is 0, right? Subtract, then this is 0, right? 0. All right. So if the numerator and denominator have the same sign, same values, then the result is 1. So far it is okay, right? How about this? A divided by 1. You are dividing a by 1, so do you remember? The right side and the bottom, product of the right side and the bottom has to be same as the top, right? So this is a. So when you divide some number by 1, then the result is a, right? A. So if you divide it, a divided by 1, then 1 times a is a. So if you divide it, it is 0. So far it's okay. These three equations are fine. But next one is really important. Now, many of you get confused with this. If the divisor is 0, a divided by 0 is undefined. Do you remember? The denominator cannot be equal to 0. Denominator cannot be equal to 0. Always keep in mind, the denominator cannot be equal to 0 because it is undefined. So let's divide a by 0. A divided by 0, then what happens? So 0 times 1 is 0, 0 times 2 is 0, 0 times a is 0. So everything here makes 0, right? 0. It makes 0. So we cannot define this value. So we can conclude that if the denominator is 0, if some number is divided by 0, then the result is undefined. Okay, always don't forget. So if 0 is in the numerator on the top, then the result is 0. But if 0 is in the denominator, the result is undefined. Don't get confused. Okay, if you are confused with this one, then actually divide the numbers. Okay, divide the numbers, find out the quotient. 0, in this case 1, in this case a. In this case, you cannot define it, you cannot find it. So in this case, if the denominator contains 0, then it is undefined. So let's try example. What is 0 divided by negative 7? 0 by negative 7, the numerator is 0, so the result is 0. Okay, the next one, negative 3 divided by negative 3. They have the same number, then the result is 1. You can cancel out negative 1, negative 3, so the result is 1. Or negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Right? This much product of these two is what? Negative 3. Okay, next example, negative 9 divided by 1. Okay, a number is divided by 1, then the result is the same number, negative 9. The last one, you are dividing a number by 0, then the result is what? Undefined. This is really important, undefined. Okay, is negative 4 a solution of the equation? So we have an equation. The left side of the equation is quotient. So negative 20 divided by x is equal to 5. So whenever you solve in this particular questions, whenever you have a question something like this, is something if a value is a solution, then always replace the variable in the equation with the given number, negative 4. So in this case, replace x with negative 4 and then check whether this is really true. So let's replace it. So negative 20 divided by x. X is negative 4. Then negative 20 divided by negative 4. Same sign. So the result is positive. And 20 divided by 4 is 5, right? So this is positive 5. So the left side of the equation is positive 5. And the right side of the equation is 5. They are equal. So yes, the result is, we can say yes, negative 4 is a solution of the equation. Alright, then let's try more examples. Okay, let's divide. Okay, now evaluate. Do you remember evaluate an expression? So evaluate negative a over b. Okay, and then the value of a is equal to negative 6 and the value of b is equal to negative 3. So when you evaluate an expression, what do we do first? First, replace, right? Replace the variable a with what? The given number, negative 6. And replace b with what? Negative 3. Alright, so negative a divided by b. So let's replace it. Negative. Okay, negative sign stays and the a value is negative 6. So why don't we put parentheses around negative 6? Over b is negative 3. In this case, you don't have to put negative or parentheses around negative 3 because there's only one number. Alright, then the top, the numerator is what? Opposite of negative 6. So that is positive 6. Or product of two negative numbers. So that is positive 6. So the numerator is 6 and the denominator is 3, negative 3. Alright, so for this one, this quotient has two different signs. So one is positive, one is negative. So they have different signs. So the result is negative, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. Can you see it? Okay, then let's try word problem, application problems. Okay, find the average temperature of the following numbers. So there are 7 temperatures, negative 10 degrees, 2 degrees, negative 1, negative 9, 1, 0, and 3. So to find the average, always when you find an average, make sure to find the total of all the items. In this case, sum of the 7 temperatures, and then divide that sum by the number of temperatures. So let's find the sum of 7 numbers. So this will be negative 10 plus 2 plus negative 1 plus negative 9 plus 1 plus 0 plus 3. Alright, then this will be equal to what? Okay, so negative 10 plus 2. So this 2, let's use a scratch paper. So okay, this 2 is this is negative 8, right? Negative 8. And sum of these two is negative 9. Same sign. You are adding same sign, then add it using, and then put the negative sign, same sign. So this is negative 9, right? And then adding these two, that is negative 18, right? Same sign, so add it and then use the same sign. And this 2 is what? This 2, different sign, then subtract from larger absolute value minus the smaller absolute value. So 18 minus 1. So 18 minus 1 is 19, so 17, and then put the negative sign. And add this 2 is negative 17, right? And add this 2 is what? Negative 14. So the sum of these 7 numbers is negative 14. So why don't I just erase it? You don't need it, right? You already know how to add these numbers. So the result is negative 14. So this is equal to negative 14. So for this one, we would divide the number, the sum, by 7. So this is actually this guy, right? The average. So that's the average. So the sum is negative 14. And this number is divided by how many temperatures? 7. Right? So divide. So can I write it like this? Okay, instead of writing this, so this, okay, don't get confused. Actually these are the same. So the sum divided by the number of items. So when you have a divide, then the second part goes to the denominator. Okay, denominator. So negative 14 divided by 7. So this quotient has different sign, then the result is negative, and then divide by 14. 14 divide 14 by 7 is 2. So the result is negative 2 degrees, right? So the average temperature was negative 2 degrees. Alright, so okay, it's really important to do the exercise. There are so many exercises in each section. So please try to solve as many questions as possible in the exercise.